Good morning. You have no idea how you inspire those of us that the little team in Seattle, we are in awe of you. You have no idea. One of my favorite stories, which I have told way too many times, is about the time my husband, Bernie, and I were whitewater rafting down the Nantahala River in the mountains of North Carolina. They drove us up the mountain in this old repurposed yellow school bus. But first, they gave us an orientation to the river. In the orientation, they warned that toward the end of the river, there were these deadly waterfalls called Wesser Falls. They warned that it had not ended well for those who had gone over Wesser Falls. Soon we were on our way, navigating our boat down the rapids. It had rained the entire week before, so the river was fast and powerful and exhilarating. That is, until we failed to maneuver a 6-foot drop in the river, and we were both thrown from our boat. There we were in the freezing, fast river, headed toward Wesser Falls. I noticed people running alongside the river with ropes. I couldn't really hear their instructions over the roaring river, but I thought I heard one person scream, "Lean back into the river. Let the river carry you. We'll drop ropes 2 miles downriver." 2 miles seemed too far. So I frantically kept trying to get myself out of the river. I kept trying to stand up, and I kept being knocked over by the currents. I did manage to catch a glimpse of my husband Bernie's head bobbing in the whitecaps, and he looked so peaceful, like he was actually enjoying the ride. Eventually, when I was too exhausted to struggle anymore, I leaned back into the river and let it carry me. Ropes were dropped, as promised, from an overpass, and we were pulled to safety. An hour or so later, we were warming ourselves by the fire, and I asked Bernie, how did you manage to be such a Zen master when headed toward deadly falls? And he responded, "I wasn't paying attention during the orientation. I had no idea we were headed toward deadly falls." We have gathered from different towns and cities and states, from regions urban and rural, from the US and Canada. And unless you are here for the National Coin Collectors Conference, which I think is in that next building, Kelly and Kelly or something, Keller and Keller, I think it's over there. Unless you are here for that, we are all here because of a common call to be transmitters of love. whatever your role, whether it's making soup in the kitchen or balancing the books in the office or de-escalating a conflict on the cafe floor, our deepest call is transmitting love. But how do we lean back into that powerful current of transforming love and let that current carry us? How do we trust that everything we need to live out our call will be given? That the ropes will be dropped just in time? How do we become next level free so that we can transmit next level love? That's the question we're going to be working with over the next couple of days, because we are living in a time of upheaval, and our world desperately needs us to transmit next level love. I'd like to highlight six practices for transmitting next level love. These practices will not be new to any of you. In fact, you are all practicing these every day of your lives. But my hope is that we can all take them in at a new level. First practice. If we are to transmit next level love, we must continuously let our hearts break. 25 years ago, the call to create the first Recovery Café came from Ruby's and my broken hearts. As you all know so well, grace enters into and flows outward through undefended, broken hearts. We are so grateful for all the broken hearts in this room. Second practice. If we are to transmit next level love, we must hold space for members, staff, and volunteers to do next level identity unwinding and reclaiming of our true identity, which is love. From the moment we are born, our identity is being programmed by our family, our culture, our religion, and our tribe. Even if we've been programmed in some positive ways, make no mistake, we've all been programmed. We all took in with our mother's milk what behaviors would make us an insider or an outsider, right? Some of us received the message, you are not enough. Others of us received the message, you are too much. That, in case you're wondering, that's the message I received. Too loud, too outside. Few of us in early life, even if we had supportive families, few of us were fully seen, fully celebrated just as we were. So what needs to be unwound in all of us is the false identity that tells us you are not worthy of being fully seen, fully celebrated just as you are. We all long for our essence to be seen and celebrated. I'm not talking about our doing self, the self that's always performing and proving. I am talking about our being, our truest self. We long for that to be seen, don't we? Unless our doing flows from that being, that true self, that place of divine love in us, unless our doing flows from that place, it will have limited power to heal and transform. On top of the programming, there is often the trauma associated with a one-time event or the repeated experiences of one trauma after another, known as complex trauma. Many of us here, and almost all of the people who walk through the doors of our cafes, have experienced complex trauma. So everything we do, the warm welcome at the front door, the freshly painted walls, the delicious food, the multiple pathways to recovery that we host, everything we do is in service to unwinding identities formed by earlier programming, trauma, and the results of trauma, so that we can reclaim our true identity, which is love. When we were preparing to open the doors of our very first cafe, Starbucks gave us this gorgeous espresso machine. One of our board members asked, "Where does espresso fit on Maslow's hierarchy of needs?" What she didn't understand at the time, she later came to understand it. So sorry about the snarky voice. What she didn't understand at the time was that making a member a coffee drink exactly the way they ordered it was a way of communicating, you are seen, you are celebrated, you are loved beyond your imagination. In fact, not only are you loved, and this is it, you guys, this is it. We have to communicate, not only are you loved, you are a transmitter of love. That is the purpose for which you were created. Some of you have heard me tell the story of Tana. As a little girl, she got spinal meningitis. The hospital bills were so devastating for her family that her father started calling her little criminal. After decades of using to numb the pain of her complex trauma, she found Recovery Café. One day, she came to me and asked me if I would go with her to return the court seal she had stolen from a Seattle judge's courtroom. Seated in the judge's chamber, Tana handed the leather case containing the court seal to the judge. And she said this, I'll never forget it. She said, "It is true that I stole this seal from your courtroom. And it is also true that I now know that I am loved and that I am an instrument of love in the lives of others." I noticed tears streaming down the judge's face. The bottom line is this: Knowing we are loved is important, but it is transmitting love that transforms us and others. Because the most significant way to strengthen the light in ourselves is to call forth the light in others. The third practice I wanted to highlight for transmitting next level love is this. We must give our all, and at the very same time, let go of all results. When I was 24 years old and part of an ecumenical community in Washington, D.C., my mentor, Gordon Cosby, gave me the gift of a trip to India to work in Mother Teresa's Home for the Dying. Now, Mother Teresa was still alive at that time, so this was an unusual opportunity to learn directly from her, from watching her. When I opened the card from Gordon and discovered this check for a trip to India, I said, oh, no, this is too much. And Gordon, he didn't try to convince me. He didn't argue with me at all. He simply said, this is my gift to you, and I don't care if you choose to go to India or if you throw this check into the Potomac River. Oh, I was stunned. I had never received a gift with such great freedom, no strings attached. I did go to India, and the experience is still with me every day. The first day of volunteering at the Home for the Dying, I carried a frail, dying woman to the bathing area to give her a bath. I was struck by the words written on the wall just above the bathing area. They were written in English. They were, "This is the body of Christ." It was a reminder to us volunteers to see and celebrate the divine in every life we touch. It was a reminder that whatever our understanding of divine love, be it unconditional love, higher power, true self, ground of all being, quantum physics, whatever our understanding, every life is sacred. It confirmed for me the importance of what would later become one of Recovery Café's guiding principles: to connect with divine love in ourselves and others. Not long ago, I was walking into a grocery store when I noticed a woman who appeared to be experiencing homelessness. I asked her if I could bring her anything from the store. And she requested a specific kind of juice called Immune. Anybody ever heard of that? It's made up of berries and zinc and things that are really good for you. I gladly purchased it for her and handed it to her as I left the store. And she said, "Thank you, that is exactly what I wanted." The next time I went to that same store, I saw that same woman. I'm embarrassed to say, without asking her, I decided to purchase the same juice for her. As I left the store, I put the juice down beside her mat. And as I walked away, she threw that heavy jug of juice at my back. It reminded me that our call is to keep showing up with loving kindness, knowing we won't always get it right, and to keep letting go of results. We don't do what we do for results. We do it for love. Now, this is not easy. We all need a small group of others running along beside us as we head toward whatever our version of Wesser Falls is, right? And here's another paradox. When we practice radical acceptance, we become more open to radical assistance. We'll maybe unpack that more later. Which brings me to a fourth practice of next level love. We all need a daily practice that helps us release fear and trust abundance. The daily practice that I have found to be one of the most helpful practices of my life is following my feelings back to their source. Following our feelings back to their source eventually leads us to the heart of love in us, our true home. We are programmed to rely on our minds instead of allowing our feelings to be our GPS, directing us to our hearts. We humans, as you know, tend to do three things with our feelings. We stuff them, we project them or blame them on others, and we numb them. What if instead of stuffing, blaming, and numbing our feelings, we had a daily or hourly practice of unwinding them to their source? And then, when we're ready, a practice of releasing them. This is a process requiring awareness, awareness, awareness. Including our feelings and then releasing them. Feelings like shame, jealousy, anger, fear. It creates in us space for abundant love and joy. That's why it's such an important practice. It creates space for the love and joy which is our birthright. The great Sufi poet Rumi compared welcoming our feelings to welcoming guests to a guest house. He wrote, "Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond." Welcoming and releasing all our feelings as they come makes possible not only this abundant love and joy, but it makes possible our responding to reality from a creative space. It is from a spacious, creative place, not from fear, not from bitterness, not from shame, but from a spacious, creative place, that the most impactful responses to injustice are given. In 2003, Lema Bowie, inspired by a dream, not a spreadsheet, but a dream, led a nonviolent movement of Muslim and Christian women that helped liberate Liberia's 14-year civil war. Liberate an end, bring an end to the civil war. At a crucial moment when the peace talks seemed stalled, Lema and nearly 200 women formed a human barrier to prevent the government representatives and the rebel warlords from leaving the meeting hall. When security forces attempted to arrest Lema, she threatened to disrobe, an act that, according to traditional beliefs, would have brought a curse upon the men who were gathered. Her tactical threat proved to be a decisive turning point in the peace process. Within weeks, a peace treaty was signed, and in 2011, as you know, Lema was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. The fifth practice. Thank you for hanging in there. The fifth practice is another paradox. If we want to transmit next level love, we cannot demonize others. But how do we let our hearts break over the suffering in our communities without demonizing those we deem responsible for their suffering? Let's be clear. I'm not suggesting we refrain from speaking truth to power, or that we shy away from naming the evils and injustices we see. I am saying that when we demonize others, when we are unable to see all others as human beings in need of love and forgiveness, just like us, we run the risk of becoming the very thing we deplore. Martin Luther King Jr. boldly named the evils of racism, poverty, and war, militarism. He recognized that he boldly named these things, but he never lost sight of the humanity of his oppressors. He recognized that those consumed by hatred were the most oppressed of all. He understood that the most powerful response to injustice is to expose the contempt that drives it, and to respond to contempt with dignity. I am blown away by the courage of Dr. Darrell Davis, a Black man who currently lives in Virginia. He sought out real relationships with KKK members, resulting in hundreds of them renouncing their hate-filled ideology. He said to them, "Before you can hate me, you need to know me." Real relationships are what change us and will ultimately change our world. As you may know, the Bhagavad Gita is an ancient text that has been inspiring people from different faiths for 5,000 years. In this narrative, Arjuna is standing on a battlefield preparing to lead his army into battle against their enemies. When Arjuna looks across the battlefield, he recognizes his own father, his own cousins, other family members. He is faced with the truth that the enemy is also his family. How do we live so deeply grounded in love that we recognize that the enemy across the battlefield is actually our father, our cousins, our own human family? 2 suggestions. We must commit to a path of ever-deepening self-awareness. The Enneagram is one tool that's really helpful, but there are many tools. But we have to commit to that path. Because as we become increasingly aware of both the darkness and light in us, we become increasingly aware of our shared humanity with those we once preferred to simply demonize for their darkness. Secondly, we must recognize that loving our enemies is not pie in the sky idealism. It may be the most practical instruction ever given. What if our cafes were not just drug and alcohol-free oases, but contempt-free zones? What if our cafes were lighthouses free of all demonizing, shining the light of dignity far and wide? Which brings me to the final. Thank you. You've been so present. Thank you. I feel your presence. Brings me to the final practice I wanted to highlight this morning. If we are to be next level free and transmit next level love, we must forgive everyone and everything. Forgiveness liberates us from contempt and demonizing. One of the leaders of Recovery Café, Skagit, who is not here today, I'm sad to say, but Valerie embodies this truth. Several months ago, her nephew was shot and killed by another young man. At the bail reduction hearing, the perpetrator not only showed no remorse toward the grieving family who were present, but he made hateful, hurtful hand gestures toward them. Valerie shared, I knew if I held on to the bitterness and hate I was feeling at that hearing, it would destroy me. This highlights what we all know so well. Forgiving everyone, including ourselves, is our path to freedom. And of course, forgiving others and ourselves is beyond us and must be given through us. Sometime last year, I told our leaders support, one of our leaders support circles, I said, I've finally forgiven an abusive person in my life for everything they did. I said, I think I have reached, I think I've hit the basement of forgiveness. And this wise person in the circle responded, when you get to the basement of forgiveness, sometimes you'll discover there's an elevator waiting to take you to parking level 1 and parking level 2. Is there someone you need to forgive? Today would not be too soon. For the past half hour, or I think it's been a half hour, we have been reflecting on practices that help us embody and transmit next level love. Embodying and transmitting next level love is our nonviolent resistance to the powers that oppress, exclude, terrorize, and demonize members of our human family. Embodying and transmitting next level love is our most effective response to the upheaval in our world. One early morning, before our Seattle Cafe opened, David Coffey, our ED of Seattle Cafés, saw one of our members with her hands pressed against the exterior brick wall of our cafe. David said, are you okay? And she said, oh yes, I'm just trying to connect with the love that radiates from this place. Our cafes are brilliant bonfires, radiating love that lights up the darkness of our time. Our cafes show the world what it looks like when a small group of people from different races, religions, socioeconomic realities, political persuasions, when we live like we belong to each other. Our cafes are our delivery system for setting the world on fire with love. Most of us have been programmed by a dualistic culture, a culture that judges everything and everyone as good or bad, right or wrong. For years, I have struggled to get everything right, even in yoga. One day, I heard a young yoga teacher say, the most powerful pose in yoga is the pose of lying flat on your back, proving absolutely nothing, judging absolutely nothing. It is not a passive pose. It is a pose of surrender. It is a pose of next level allowing. So I end my remarks where I began. Are we ready to lean back into love's powerful current and allow that love to carry us to people and places we've never even dreamed of before? Maybe carrying us into prisons in a more systematic way? Or into partnerships with entire denominations of churches, mosques, and synagogues? Or into innovative partnerships with healthcare systems or for-profit organizations? Are we ready to allow the love force of the universe to change the world through us? Anthropologist Margaret Mead reminds us, never doubt that a small group of committed people like you and me can change the world. It is the only thing that ever has. But we will not change the world with toxic energy and sourpuss faces. We must do everything we do with wildly contagious joy. The Sufi poet Hafez wrote, I love Sufi poets, as you may have noticed. The Sufi poet Hafez wrote, I sometimes forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy. My heart is too heavy. I was created to be lifted up and to lift up others. Oh, sacred one, free our souls that we might dance, and that our dancing might be contagious. Thank you so much for listening.